Welcome to Momedram. In this video, we'll discuss user-defined exceptions in Java. We can define or create our own exception class as per our requirement. These exceptions are called user-defined exceptions or customized exceptions. Let us see an example why we need to create user-defined exceptions. We have a method withdraw and it is taking argument amount. So we have hard coded two variables, like one is available balance 1000 rupees and day limit reaches true, and here we are checking if amount greater than available balance. If the whatever the amount they wants to withdraw, that amount is greater than available balance, that time we are throwing an exception. That means if the available balance is less than the required amount, that time we cannot go ahead, so we need to terminate. That situation we are throwing the exception by using throw keyword. And if the available balance is more than the amount which is required, then he can able to withdraw. In the next step we are checking whether the day limit is reached or not. That means when we are withdrawing money, there will be limit will be there per day. So if he is already reached or not, we are checking. If he is already reached, then we are throwing the exception. In these two cases are passed, then we are doing withdraw in progress and we are returning withdraw success. And we are calling this method from the main method do withdraw, and we are saying 5000. So available balance is 1000, but here we are expecting 5000. We are expecting it to give exception. Let us run this example and see. If you see here, if the available balance is less than the required amount, so here we are getting the exception. Here we are displaying the java.lang.exception. If anybody sees this exception, they cannot understand. So in this type of situations, like we can able to create our own customized exceptions. Like if amount is not sufficient, then we can create our own exception saying that insufficient fund. If the day limit is reached, then we can say you have already reached the day limit. Like that we can able to display the message so that user can able to understand. How to create user defined exception in Java? So for that, first we have to create a class and extend it with throwable type. It is recommended to extend with runtime exception. This statement we will see in the example. After that, we have to create a constructors, like either default constructor or parameterized constructor, so that whenever we wants to call that exception clause, we can able to create by using these constructors. So we have to override that toString method, or we have to use a super of message in the constructors, so that we can able to display the message when the exception occurred. So in this case, we want to create two separate user defined exceptions. One is insufficient fund exception, and second one is day limit exceeded. Let us create these exceptions. So first we have to create a class insufficient fund. We have created a class insufficient fund here, and we have to extend a runtime exception. We can define a class is exception class only when we are extending the class with throwable types and its subtypes. So here we are extending with runtime exception. Why we are using runtime exception than exception or throwable? For example, if you extend with throwable or exception, that time whenever you are calling this statement, that time you have to handle that exception. But we are creating user defined exceptions to terminate the program. So when you are doing terminations, no need to handle that exception. If you extend a class with runtime exception, that exceptions when we are using, no need to handle. That is the reason we are extending with a runtime exception. Now we have to create a constructor. If you don't want to pass any message, that time we will use default constructor. When you use default constructor, that time you can override toString method. So here we are returning saying that insufficient funds. Let us use this example. In this case, throw new insufficient fund exception. Let us run this program and see. We are getting exception saying that insufficient funds in your account. So here line number 16 it is giving the user defined exception. Now let us see by using parameterized constructor insufficient fund exception of string. We will expect message from the user and we will call super of method and we will send message. Let us comment this one because we are using parameterized constructor. And now let us create here insufficient funds and we will send some message. Now let us run this program and see. We are throwing an exception, insufficient exception, and here we are getting insufficient fund exception of it messages insufficient balance whatever we are using. So this is how we can able to create the user defined exceptions in Java. That is, we have to create a class and it should extend with a runnable type. So it is recommended to use a runtime exception for user defined exceptions, and we have to create a constructors. These constructors are used to create this exception class, and if you want to expect any message, so we will use parameterized constructor. If you don't want to expect any message, that time we will use default constructor. When you use default constructor, it is recommended to override the toString method, and inside the toString method we will send the message. Based on that message, user will be able to understand. Now let us create another user defined exception for this day limit exceeded, and we will extend with runtime exception. Now we will expect parameterized constructor. In this example, if you see, we have created a class and we are extending with runtime exception. So this is, we can say, as user defined exception. And if you want to call this exception, we are using parameterized constructor and we are passing this message to the, so by using super keyword. So this super keyword will pass it to the runtime exception, and this runtime exception will pass to the super class of exception, and that exception will pass it to the throwable type. So throwable type will have this print stack trace. Let us use this day limit exceeded exception and see. In this example, we will use day limit exceeded and we'll say, and we will call this method by using 500 so that we can able to see this exception. Now let us run this program and see. We are getting that exception saying that day limit exceeded exception. You already crossed the day limit. By seeing these messages, user can able to understand easily. So we can able to create our own exceptions and we can throw that exceptions by using throw keyword in Java. This is all about this video. Hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.